All right, so y'all go ahead and do the factoring and the math knowledge question for today. Pause the video, and then once everyone is finished, you can unpause the video and I'll go over the correct answer. So for the factoring, you should have x plus 7 times x minus 3. For the math knowledge question, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. What must be the length of one of the sides of the triangle? So obviously it can't be 18 or 24 because the longest side is 12, and that's our hypotenuse. So we can't have one of our legs longer than 12. It can be determined from the given information. And then we're going to use something that you may or may not be aware of. It's called sine, cosine, and tangent. And if you're not familiar with it, that's okay. We are going to learn it later in the year. But the sine of angle 30 is going to equal AB over the hypotenuse of 12. And so if we multiply by 12, you'll get what the length of AB is. And so if you use your calculator, you'll get that AB equals 6. So you're just going to do 12 and then sine of 30, and you should get 6. And then we can also do the cosine of 60 degrees, not of 60, the cosine of 30 degrees is going to equal AC over 12. And so if you multiply by 12, you're going to get 10.39, and that is 6 square roots of 3. If you plug in 6 square roots of 3, it gives you the same decimal. So if you didn't know how to do that one, that's completely okay. We are going to learn sine, cosine, and tangent later this year. But some of y'all may already know it. So if so, that's great. All right, we're looking at lesson 22. Today we're going to be finding areas of quadrilaterals. So hopefully you'll understand how to find the area of quadrilaterals after this lesson. So for a parallelogram, the area is the base times the height. You don't do side length times side length. You do base times height. So we want to find the area of each parallelogram. So for a rectangle, the base is 9 and the height is 4. So 9 times 4 is 36, and your units are feet squared. Okay? For the square, the base and the height are both 14. So 14 times 14 is 196, and our units are inches squared. For the parallelogram, the area base is 32 and the height is 5. So 32 times 5 is 160, and our units are centimeters squared. Okay? So that's how you can find the area of parallelograms. For trapezoids, if you don't know this formula, you do need to learn it. It's going to be 1/2 times the sum of B1 and B2 times the height. So it doesn't matter which one is your B1 and your B2. You can pick either one of them. They're just your bases. They're the two sides that are parallel to each other. So we want to find the area of this trapezoid. So our formula is 1/2 B1 plus B2 times the height. So we're going to do 1/2. The bases are 17 and 24, and the height is 12. So if you plug that in, 1/2 of 17 plus 4 times 12 should give you 246 millimeters squared. Okay, now we're going to do the next one. Trapezoid with a base of 22 and 6. So 1/2 22 plus 6, and then a height of 3. So multiply by 3. So 22 plus 6, and then multiply by 3 and divide by 2. You should get 42 inches squared. So that's how you can use that formula. Okay, for the area of a rhombus, the formula is 1/2 D1 and D2, where D1 and D2 are your diagonals. So we want to find the area of each rhombus. So we first have to find the length of the diagonals. They didn't give it to us. So if this is 12, this one is 12. And it's a right angle, so we can use Pythagorean theorem to find our diagonal. So 12 squared plus 12 squared equals your hypotenuse squared. So 144 plus 144 equals your hypotenuse squared. So 288 equals the hypotenuse squared. And if you take the square root of that, your hypotenuse is going to be approximately 288. The square root of 288, which is 16.97 approximately. And then this diagonal is going to be the same length because the side lengths are the same. So the area is going to be 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. And so I'm going to leave it as the radical 288 for the two diagonals. And the square root of 288 times the square root of 288 is just 288. So you really have 1/2 times 288, which is 144. And the units are centimeters. If you notice, this is actually a square, and 12 times 12 is just 144. So you didn't have to use the formula to find the area of that figure, but that's how you can use it. For this one, your diagonals are both 8, so 1/2 times 8 times 8. 8 times 8 is 64. Half of 64 is going to be 32 inches squared. So that would be your answer for that one. We're going to look at one more example. We have an auditorium that has a shape that can be broken into a rectangle and a trapezoid. What is the total area of the auditorium? Well, this is the rectangle. And the rectangle's area is going to be 300 because it's 30 by 10. For the trapezoid, we're going to use the formula 1/2. What are our two bases? They are 30 and 10, and then the height is 15. So 30 plus 10 is 40. Half of that is 20. And then if you multiply by 15, you should get 300. So the total area should be 600 feet squared because you add the two of them together. So now let's try some practice problems. So y'all try these by yourself, and then once y'all are finished, y'all can unpause the video and I'll go over it. So for the first one, you're going to do 14 times 8, and so your area is going to equal 112 yards squared. For this next one, we do base times height. So 16 times 4 for your area, which is 64 feet squared. Okay, for this bottom one, the area of our trapezoid is 1/2. Our bases are 14 and 21, and then our height is 13. So 14 plus 21 times 13 and divided by 2 gives you 227.5 centimeters squared. Okay? let's look at these two. So again, y'all pause the video and try them, and then unpause the video and I'll go over the answers. So for this top one, the area is going to be 1/2. Your two bases are 4 and 6, and your height is 2. So 4 plus 6 is 10. Half of that is 5 times 2 is 10 yards squared. For the rhombus, you use the formula 1/2 diagonal times diagonal. And so if you multiply, you should get 45 inches squared. Okay. Let's look at the last two. So I want you to find D2 if D1 is 6 and it has an area of 12, and then find the total area of the cafeteria. So y'all try those and then unpause the video. So we're going to say our area formula is 1/2 D1 D2. So our area is 12, and it says D1 is 6. What is D2? Well, 12 equals half of 6 is 3, and if you divide by 3, D2 would have to be 4, and our units are meters. Okay? For this last one, the measurement that Dakota needs to find the total area of the cafeteria. Since it's a diamond, that's the same thing as a rhombus. So he just needs the diagonals of the cafeteria to be able to find the area. So hopefully you got most of those correct. We're going to look at a challenge question for today. See if you can find the area of this figure. Your answer is going to be in terms of x. It's not just going to be a number. So y'all try this one, and then I'm going to go over it. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to break it into a figure over here. This figure is a parallelogram, and the height is x plus 2, and the base lengths are 9. Because that's what that little tick mark is. So for this blue area, the area is going to be 9 times x plus 2. Now let's do this one. This is a trapezoid. So our trapezoid formula is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2, and then times the height. And they told us the height was x. I can also break it into another trapezoid over here, where this is 13 and this is 9. So I actually have 2 of these. So the 1/2 and the 2 can cancel. And then the last part is this part here, which is a rectangle. And it's 13 times x plus 4. That's the base and the height. So then all you have to do is distribute and combine your like terms. So 9x plus 18 plus 9x plus 13x plus 13x plus 52. And so 9x plus 9x plus 13 plus 13 is 44x. And then 18 plus 52 is 70. And so that would be the area you should get. So if you got that right, that's awesome. It's very rare that people get this one just because they give up. Not that it's terribly difficult. So they just get confused and they don't try. So hopefully if you persevered on this one and you got it right, that's an awesome thing. So your homework tonight is 1 through 30. So y'all go ahead and try those and then make sure you finish them tonight so we can go over any questions you have tomorrow.